Welcome back to The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Faria. Joining me now on the program are Carleen Purcell, who is the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Grenada's Investment Migration Agency, and Ria Burke, the Marketing Officer of the agency, formerly known as the Citizenship by Investment Unit. They're here to talk about the unit to raise awareness about investment migration and the Investment Migration Agency, and the recent rebranding at IMA, the Investment Migration Agency, might sound unfamiliar to many people. That's because we knew it as the Citizenship by Investment Unit, and now it's rebranded. Grenada seeking to expand markets as well as to raise awareness nationally so that people can understand the importance of investment migration, how it works, and its importance to economic development and community development. That agency has been undertaking some projects within Grenada, and Grenada benefiting from that. Also outside of Grenada, the program Under Pressure, the program across the Eastern Caribbean, Under Pressure, from the European Union and the United States, concerns about due diligence and just how our programs are managed. So we will also ask the ladies about just how tight Grenada's Citizenship by Investment Migration program is. Ladies, welcome to The Narrative.
Well, good morning, Callistra. Well, thank you for having me.
All right, so we have here Ria Burke in black and Carleen Purcell in blue. And thank you so much for joining me on The Narrative, ladies, to talk about the rebranding. And I want to start with the rebranding, because a lot of people know about the Citizenship by Investment, and that has come up with a bit of a stigma as well. You know, when people think of Citizenship by Investment, we think about all kinds of crazy things that are, you know, part of our 25-year history in that sort of thing. So let's talk about the rebranding first. Why are we now saying Investment Migration Agency? And who do we start with? The CEO, the Deputy CEO wants to take that question, or will you leave it to your marketing officer?
Well, I can start, and Ria can chime in here. So, so really and truly, this has been quite a bit of a journey. So, you know, this year we actually turned 10 since the program was established. So we started operations in 2014. And as part of that process and our evolution, especially that the market is asking for an evolution, one of the things we engaged in last year was market research, brand audit, to determine where we were, you know, how the market was seeing us, what's the opinion out there in the market, as we thought it was important that we go out on our own and have our own brand. As a matter of fact, prior to this, the unit carried the Citizenship by Investment. The logo associated with it was actually the government coat of arms. As you know, there are limitations in terms of how you can use the coat of arms, where you can use it, what products you can use it on, and that sort of thing. So as we ventured into our plans for moving forward, which involves quite a bit of marketing in the international market, we know we needed to have a brand of our own, and a brand that's reflective of what the market is asking for, as well as where we intend to go in terms of our strategic plan. And as we look forward to the future and we embrace the Investment Migration Agency on a wider scale, it's not just about Citizenship by Investment. Citizenship by Investment is only one element of the program. There are other elements of investment migration, which includes things like residency, which is one of the areas we've found the international agencies have been speaking, hinting towards. And so it's something we are now reviewing and thinking about broadening our scope as an agency in incorporating elements, other products in the program to include something like a residency. So investment migration would be embracing of all of those areas now beyond just Citizenship by Investment, which, as I said, is only one element of the vast investment migration market.
And residency, can you elaborate on that aspect that you're thinking of introducing? What do you mean, and how will it work?
Well, we're not sure in terms of just yet how it would work, but as you know, so the US, a lot of the first world countries have residency program where it's a status that you get for a period of time, which allows you to work, get involved in business ventures and that sort of thing before you get to the point of citizenship. So it's a transitionary phase that you get to before you get to full citizenship, which is again an option that some persons may choose to buy into, simply because the economic benefits that can come from residency programs as well. It's something that they can benefit from. So it's one of those things we're looking at how it's going to work. Every country has different requirements for residency programs in terms of what's the requisite investment, how long that person would have to live in that country, what is considered residency, 6 months of a year, 12 months of a year, or 3 years, So we don't have those details just yet, but it's something we're now looking at. So as I said, this is just one element. We're looking to broaden the portfolio, but it's one of the areas that we're looking at to introduce as part of the investment migration parcel.
Colin, as you were speaking, the owners of shipwreck came to mind. These are people who came to Grenada 60 years ago or so, invested, worked, lived, and became citizens. We already have accommodation within our system for someone to come to Grenada and follow a process and eventually get your residency and then citizenship at some later date. How would what you're offering differ from what is already established as?
Remember, as persons are moving for different reasons, right? So you may have somebody coming and physically, so in the instance, in the example that you just gave, those persons, migrated, they lived here, they set their businesses up. This may not be a full migration. The person may not be living in the country, over a long period of time in that fashion. So they are allowed to, based on what the requirements are in terms of the being physically on island, they can still have a successful, and especially now, given the technology that we have, they can still have a successful business set up, operated out of Grenada, where Grenadians can benefit, where there can be skills transfer, where the economy can actually benefit from that business without them necessarily having to live in Grenada for an extended period of time. Remember, a lot of those persons that the program attract are persons that are already in businesses. They have their businesses in their countries where they currently live, or of which they're a citizen. So it may not be a situation where they want a whole new life, but it's just to expand their scope and their reach as business people. That's what you seek to do, especially when you're in that international space. So it might be an opportunity for them to do that.
All right, and let me just turn to Ria now and the rebranding. As a marketing officer, you would have been in the middle of the rebranding, the concepts and everything. What led to what we have now, the Investment Migration Agency? Walk me through the whole rebranding process.
Right. So Ms. Purcell would have touched on it a great deal. So we wanted to move away from the coat of arms. It's so limited in its functionality. We wanted to go toward the global scale. So investment migration is where we went to, and hence the name. But we also wanted the corporate feel as well. But then too, in considering the word identity, we thought, what is the Grenada program known for in the market? And it's known for its robust due diligence. It's actually known as one of the most secure programs. And so we thought fingerprint. And hence, I don't know if you can really see it on my t-shirt here. We thought fingerprint, which when you think of it, as I said, you think biometrics, you think security, you think identity. So that word again, identity, we thought, what is the Grenadian identity to the world? What is Grenada known for? And you must think of the nutmeg. And so we tried to merge the intricacies of the mace of the nutmeg with the fingerprint to be a part of this brand that we have here today. So it's now Investment Migration Agency Grenada, and that is paired with the robust due diligence image that we have out there, paired with the Grenadian identity of the nutmeg. But then also our tagline, unlock the possibilities, because we say there's possibilities for Grenada with this program. So much revenue is generated from this program. It's such a significant contributor to our economy. But then, two, it's also unlocking possibilities for persons out there, investors. So hence our new brand, Investment Migration Agency, IMA Grenada for short, with our brand new brand mark and tagline.
And I'm going to throw this out there. One of the things when you talk about citizenship by investment, people say selling passports. The phrase, that's how people view the program, that we're selling passports, whether it's in St. Kitts or here or St. Lucia. Did you change the name also in order that you can move away and try to have people identify you less with the belief that what the program is about selling passports, which is something I know that units across the Eastern Caribbean are very uncomfortable with being expressed that way. Was that part of the thinking?
Go ahead, Ria. First, Okay. I would say definitely yes. That was one of the reasons we tried to move away from it. We know there's a negative connotation attached to CBI on a whole. So that was definitely one of our reasons for going away from the CBI. However, as you know, we have our public symposium coming up wherein we're trying to educate the public on why the program is not as negative as people think. Let me not even say not as negative. It's not a negative thing. It's actually such a positive for Grenada. It is one of our biggest contributors to our economy. Last year in 2023, it contributed over 30% to Grenadian revenue. Over the 10-year span, the program has contributed over 1 billion EC dollars to the Grenadian economy. So we really wanted to move away from this negative stigma and really introduce investment migration to Grenada. And so they know this is the program that is working for you and these are the benefits that is offering.
And as you talk about, makes sense, as you talk about the symposium, I know that you've been doing these outreach programs, actually going into the community, talking to people. In the past, the citizenship by investment that we knew always seemed to be separate and divorced from the day-to-day lives of Grenadians in more ways than one. Now the program is, we're seeing signs up saying that, you funded this program, or I think there's a road that you funded, if I recall correctly. And you're also having these town hall meetings, these symposiums. The next one coming up in St. David. Who is going to be presiding, and what are you going to be saying to the people during that event?
So our next symposium will be at Wester Hall Secondary School. That's next Tuesday, June 25th at 5:30 p.m. We'll be having Mrs. Margaret Wilkinson, who is attorney at law. She'll be hosting the program. But also we'll have speakers such as Mr. Richard Duncan, he's our chairman, Mr. Thomas Anthony, CEO of the program, and also local agent of the program, Mrs. Estenac Alexis. So we'll be having experts in the industry coming to speak to persons. We'll be enlightening you on what the program actually is, about the process of the program, who are these applicants coming in, how it benefits Grenada every day, because as you rightfully said, we don't know what are these benefits. There's so many benefits that we're experiencing every day as Grenadians and we just don't know it. I think you mentioned the roads. There are the Hermitage Road, the Moncomar Road, there's the St. John Flood Mitigation Scheme, there are medical equipment that was bought, there's clinics that were fixed, there's the lights that were added to so many playing fields around Grenada. So that's why we're encouraging as much people as possible to come on out to the symposium. We're encouraging all the St. David's residents, the surrounding communities, anywhere in Grenada that you are, to come to the symposium or town hall, if you will. You can ask your questions and just have all of your concerns heard, if you just have concerns as well. And so we're just encouraging everyone to come be enlightened on the program.
And apart from the one in St. David next week, you're also going to other districts, including Carriacou. You're also going to be talking to people of Carriacou about the Investment Migration Agency and the program.
Yes, Miss
Yes,
Crystal.
we'll be heading to Carriacou. He will be heading to Carriacou next month, actually. So July, in July, we'll be coming up to Carriacou. So just before you have a little impetus to get into your regatta. So it'd be on the on the heels of the regatta. So we'll have a conversation. And the truth is, we want these meetings to be organic, so that we know people have concerns, we understand it. And the thing is, for the last 10 years since the program has been started in Grenada, a lot of information, like you rightly said, hasn't been distributed. We haven't been engaging with the public, while these things have been going on for years now in terms of where those monies are, were being used in terms of investment, capital projects. It has always been the focus of revenues from the program. But it's not something we spoke about in the past. And I think that in itself, when persons don't have information, they invent their own, they get very creative. We know that. And especially in small societies like ours, we know that, it's easy for that to be done. So, when for us now going to Carriacou, we're taking it to the persons. We want persons to know, and even to St. David's, come and feel free to, air your concerns. It's okay. We're there. We're there to answer your questions, to hear your concerns. Where we can address them, we will. If there's something we need to take off the table and do some research and come back to you, we will do that as well, because it's only been 10 years. You have programs like St. Kitts, who's been around for over 30 years, so they have had learnings, they have put laws in place, and they've changed and evolved over the years, which is what we're doing now. And especially now at this 10-year point, we found it necessary to take some, huge steps in evolutionizing what we do, how we do it, and especially as you rightly said at the beginning of the program, having the pressures of the external agencies looking in. We know that we have to transform. We have to help to mitigate the risk. In any investment type program, there would always be risks, but our job as an agency is to change and create new strategies that can help to mitigate those risks, both for our nationals as well as the agencies, and while at the same time benefiting the country in terms of its revenue generation ability.
Carlene, what are some of these learnings over the last 10 years, a decade? What are some of these learnings that you've encountered, experienced, and what are some of the changes apart from those that we've spoken about, the rebranding, the name change, rebranding, and so in terms of due diligence and legislation, are we changing anything? Are there any mistakes that we have made in the last 10 years that you're moving to fix, and how?
Actually, like we said earlier, we're known for having a very robust system. We have quite a few layers of due diligence happening as part of the program. From the time that client gets to their marketing agents internationally, due diligence is done on that client. When they get to the local agent, in order to accept any application, funds, monies, they have to do due diligence to be compliant with our local AML laws. The banks, in order to receive those monies, they also do the due diligence checks on those clients in order for them to be compliant with the ECCB's regulations, and as well as their being able to maintain the correspondent banking agreements with those international banks. By the time it gets to us, we do enhanced due diligence, where our due diligence providers actually go in on the ground in those countries from which the persons are applying for their citizenship and to invest in Grenada. So it's, at every level there's due diligence. As a matter of fact, what we did last year, September of last year, we introduced a new portion. We have an interview process that all of our applicants above the age of 17 has to be a part of, they must undergo an interview as well. So we have made a change by way of that, and the law there is now in place to support that. So in terms of further enhancing that element of the program, but we've also tightened up on some of the contracts we have with our due diligence providers, ensuring that we have even post citizenship checks being done on the clients, on those citizens, even after they would have received their citizenship, just in case there's something major that comes up on them. Remember, one of the reasons for denying someone, right, as part of the law, one of the reasons is likely to cause disrepute. So we don't even have to know for sure that the person, have a criminal background, but based on the due diligence findings, if we uncomfortable, if it, too many red flags, or there's a little smoke there. In Grenada we say where there's smoke there's fire. So we're not waiting for the fire. So we do actually deny persons just on the likelihood of them causing disrepute to Grenada. So we take this seriously, and we are continuing to improve in terms of our due diligence process.
And so you have rejected applications just because there were red flags and not necessarily anything specific or actionable that came across.
Yes, definitely.
Because
Yes.
and you said that you're continuing to monitor even after citizenship is granted, after the deal is done, because sometimes you see there have been a number of occasions when news breaks that someone is out there in the world under investigation or under indictment by another jurisdiction because of something, and they're holding Grenada's citizenship through the investment program. And you wonder, people say, and then people associate that with the program to say, okay, we allowed criminals or we allowed fraudsters to get into the program. So
Yes.
how effective, the measures that you've now put in place, the continued monitoring, is that going to take care of those problems that we will know?
So-
because sometimes we can say, well, okay, well, at the time of the processing of that applicant, this was not available to the due diligence agencies. Is that a response to that problem?
So to some extent it is, because you can only make a decision based on the information that you have at hand. Just think about it. We have a situation in the international markets, even persons that are not a part of the program, right? A banker for 25 years, have, worked through the banking system. And the banks are very diligent in terms of their due diligence with, employment and who they employ. You have somebody that's worked, I know of a situation where someone worked 20 something years in the banking industry and had a very good rap sheet. Hard times hit, COVID, and their actions changed, and post COVID they got caught up in a particular, something that wasn't, that was criminal. Mind you, not a Grenadian citizen, but I'm just saying that those things can happen. At the time when they would have done the due diligence on that person, for their citizenship and for their investment into their country, that person would have had a clean slate, but situation, arose, and that person decided, hey, this is no longer how they want to live, and they got involved in something that was criminal. So it's post that time. So yes, this continuous due diligence will help us to identify where those things might come up in the future. But also, I think there's also a misconception, and we probably speak about it a little bit more at the symposium, where there's a difference. So you can have persons that are holders of Grenadian passports that are not citizens of Grenada. So diplomatically, they can be awarded, through foreign affairs to be representatives in different countries, foreign representatives for the country, which has nothing to do with our program per se. So they've been granted those passports through their foreign affairs office. And a lot of the times when you hear those misconceptions, it's around that. But so I think that's a misconception that's out there. Once it's someone who wasn't born Grenadian and there's an issue, persons and they're holding a Grenadian passport, persons automatically think it's citizenship by investment. Our agency would have issued it, but it's not the fact. As well as the agency itself, we don't issue passports. The immigration office, that role continue to sit with the immigration office, and they're the one that do that. So I think there's some misconception out there about that, and I'm happy you're saying, the few times, you have those things happening in the international market. Luckily, Grenada hasn't really been one to have persons pop up years after with criminal acts, being associated with us and with the program. And we do have the right to revoke if it's found in our subsequent due diligence. We can revoke the citizenship as well as the passport. But I also put this in context that we've had over 10,000 citizens through the program. And what we're speaking about here, 1 point, the percentage is pretty low in terms of these things occurring. And like I said, maybe God is in fact a Grenadian. We haven't really had that, those persons associated with our program.
But even just one in this business has the ability to cause quite a shock to the system. Have you had to
Yes.
how many citizenship have you revoked in the last decade?
That I can confirm. I know we haven't had too many. Based on my recollection, I've only before my time, that is though, but I've only researched and seen 3 citizenships being revoked based on my own research. But as I said, we haven't seen any in my tenure here with the agency. But it's not something but remember, even when you're the revocation of the citizenship, again, when that person becomes a citizen, the Constitution doesn't treat, there isn't a difference in treatment among citizens. Once you become a citizen, you now become a national
But Colleen, the program itself has conditions. Any
yeah.
any activity, any behavior likely to bring the country into disrepute. My citizenship can't be taken away just because I do something bad, because I don't have disrepute does not apply to me, or you, or Ria. But there are conditions under which the citizenship is granted for citizens. So while constitutionally they may enjoy some of the rights and that we have, when it comes to that clause that they agree to,
Yes, so I'm saying it can be done and it will be done, but there's a process. So there's a legal, so the law allows for it, but obviously there's a process that needs to happen, right? So I'm saying that it's not just something that the agency can, as the agency can make a recommendation to cabinet to accept or deny someone for issuance of citizenship or deny them from getting their citizenship. We could also make a recommendation based on our findings for that. At the end of the day, it still sits with cabinet in terms of determining whether that person would actually be granted their citizenship, would be revoked, would have their citizenship revoked as well. You understand?
Okay.
Yeah, so
All
there's
right.
a process.
Ria, I wanted to jump in here because one of the things I know is that given what has happened with Russia, we can no longer, at least for the time being, process Russian applications. So we've had that decrease in the market there, because Russia was one of our most lucrative markets for investment migration.
Right.
What are the new strategies that your investment migration agency is implementing to market? I did hear somewhere that you're looking to Africa a bit more now, and just how are you boosting and changing your marketing strategy to suit the conditions that now exist?
Well, first of all, we're marketing. Let's just start there. we've never actually marketed our own program before. So we've kind of divided it a bit. So on one hand, we'll be doing industry and non-industry events. So with the industry events is to basically form connections and network more. So B2B, sorry, so we can get more agents on board to market our program out there. But then also too, we're doing a lot of non-industry events where we're trying to target high net worth individuals, ultra high net worth individuals, or their representatives, like their family offices, and other offices like that, wherein we can try to get as much persons involved as possible. So to reach, as much persons as possible. But then also too, we're doing some international tours. So we're visiting both the established markets, so that's the Dubai, Nigeria, and so, but also trying to target the up and coming regions, which actually includes the US, Latin America, etc. So that is what we're trying to do this year. We actually created a marketing calendar, and it's very, very packed. So we're really trying to boost our numbers that way.
And so now the agents, they were solely responsible for marketing the program. And I know that there's been, with all of the negativity that's been attached to some of the other jurisdictions within the region, where agents there's concern and worry about just how agents were marketing and about offering discounts where discounts should not be offered. But because they are doing them. So now you are saying that Grenada is going to take charge of marketing and the face of the program that goes out there, and what is offered
Yes.
for the program is now going to be solely up to the
Yes.
IMA.
And we're also doing some sales training wherever we go as well with our agents. So every region we go to, we've been visiting the offices of these marketing agents and having sales marketing trainings with them. So we try to encourage them as much as possible to use certain marketing languages and which marketing languages to stay away from, and so.
Marketing language, that's what you said, Ria?
Yes, sorry. Marketing language and techniques.
And techniques. Okay, because I mean, you know, you don't want to find out that there's an agent out there saying, well, I can give you I can get you into the Grenada program for 30% less than the cost. That'll make us look
Exactly.
bad
Exactly.
and put us on the headlines like other jurisdictions have ended up on
Exactly.
the headlines. We don't
So
want.
we're doing our parts to avoid that.
Okay. And when it comes to deciding on agents, any changes there? Have you imposed any new restrictions, opened up more so that widen the field for agents to be able to join the program? Any changes there?
No, none that are significant. It has always been open. Local professionals can, in fact, become local agents. The process, again, persons, they have to apply. They submit their business plan, how they plan to market the program, how they plan to add value to our program. Their view on compliance and staying compliant and those things. We do due diligence on those persons as well locally. For the local agents, we get our FIU involved, and maybe as far as JRCC in terms of CARICOM. And when it comes to persons applying for marketing agents, they can be local, but most of our marketing agents are based outside of Grenada. And again, very, very rigorous due diligence is done on those persons as well. So the process as it is, again, it's robust. I think where we need to add a little more value is by way of oversight and monitoring and managing. As you know, the name of your program is the narrative, right? And so you understand how that narrative can actually affect, perceptions out there. So we have been putting plans in place and have started the process of influencing that a little bit more in terms of, the techniques they use and narrative they use, and us taking control as an agency, taking control of that narrative out there. If we are out there in the market pushing and marketing and training, then we think that narrative will in fact change. The techniques, if any illegal techniques were being employed out there, now that they know that we have built the capacity now and actually implementing and monitoring a little bit more, persons would be more inclined to stay in line, if there is any thought of going awry out there. So I think it has already been in place, but we're just tightening in some areas. Some areas don't require us to, make any legal changes per se, but more so changes around, implementation and policy and procedures, which is what we're doing as well.
Were agents trying to undersell our passports out there? I know we signed on from the beginning with the memorandum of agreement with the EU regarding the guidelines and parameters for how the program should operate, and the minimum cost of the buy-in, I should say, for citizenship has been established as part of that memorandum of agreement. But did we have problems before, similar to what's blowing up, similar to some of the allegations and accusations that are blowing up in other jurisdictions in the region?
Yeah. The thing is, across the world, you have, some of the big players, the Henley and Partners, the Artons, we have a lot of, most of the marketing agents market programs across the world, right? So you have so many players involved. So it is possible. I'm not saying that it may not have been happening. It is possible. But I'm saying that in the absence of proof of that happening, you don't have to wait for your house to burn down, before you start protecting it, right? So you see, it's happening out there in it has been proven to be happening in other jurisdictions. So part of the reason we're also amping up, especially the monitoring on our end, is for that reason. Persons have always had these, oaths that they take and measures to institute as part of the marketing. They have to share with us. They have to have their materials approved by us. But in terms of capacity, sometimes, it may not have been monitored in a frequent way in the way it's been now being done. So we're on top of it now. We're better able, not fully there. As I said, we're still building capacity, but we are working to ensure that it doesn't happen. Even if it was out there, there's no proof that it has been happening here. So we are putting things in place to ensure that it doesn't come at our doorstep.
Well, we're not named in a RICO lawsuit, so maybe we're okay. Let's take a break here now, ladies. When we come back, I want to talk to you about the future of IMA, because there's a lot of questions about, is this bubble going to bust? What the future holds for IMA, and also the Caribbean Investment Summit that took place here. What came out of it, and what benefits came out of it, and what we can see. We'll be back in a moment.